Nigeria's landmark Tax Reform Act into law on June 26, 2025. Commending the Institute for supporting the federal government's tax reform agenda, Oyedele said public misunderstanding of taxation remained one of the biggest obstacles to improving compliance. According to him, many Nigerians still believe that whenever the government talks about taxation, it is simply seeking to collect more money from citizens. The minister added that getting Nigeria's tax system right would have a transformative impact on national development. He also urged the Institute to establish annual awards to recognize the country's most compliant taxpayers as a way of encouraging voluntary tax compliance. The Manufacturers Association of Nigeria has raised concerns over the sharp decline in bank credit to the manufacturing sector, warning that the development could undermine industrial growth, worsen unemployment, and jeopardize the implementation of the Nigeria Industrial Policy 2025. In a statement issued yesterday, MAN Director General Segun Ajayi Kadir noted that the sector suffered a 22.5% contraction in credit, equivalent to about 1.92 trillion, describing the trend as a major setback to Nigeria's industrialization aspirations. Ajayi Kadir stressed that sustainable industrial development requires access to affordable financing, warning that shrinking credit availability could further constrain capacity utilization, delay technological upgrades, and weaken job creation across the sector. MAN identified the high cost of borrowing as the biggest obstacle preventing manufacturers from accessing available bank liquidity. The association noted that as of May 2026, average prime lending rates stood at about 27%, while maximum leading rates had climbed to 35.6%, making long-term industrial investments financially unsustainable. The association also pointed to the Central Bank of Nigeria's stringent cash reserve ratio, estimated at between 45% and 50% for commercial banks, as a policy that significantly restricts loanable funds within the banking system. It further lamented the continued non-implementation of the proposed 1 trillion Manufacturing Stabilization Fund, despite its inclusion in the federal government's Accelerated Stabilization and Advancement Plan since 2024. The federal government and development partners have stressed the need to sustain and integrate the gains from the $345 million Global Fund-supported COVID-19 response mechanism investment into Nigeria's routine health system to strengthen preparedness for future public health emergencies. Nigeria achieved a 97% absorption rate of the grant, which supported critical areas such as medical oxygen supply, laboratory capacity, disease surveillance, emergency response systems, health workforce development, and supply chain improvements across the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory. The C-19RM grant was established as an emergency intervention to support countries' COVID-19 response, reduce mortality, and maintain essential health services, particularly HIV, tuberculosis, and malaria programs. It later evolved into a broader health system strengthening initiative. At a close-out meeting of the 5-year program yesterday in Abuja, the Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Ali Pate, said the pandemic exposed the weaknesses in global health systems and reinforced the need to treat health security as a component of national security, economic stability, and sustainable development. Represented by the Director of Public Health in the Ministry, Dr. Vivian Okafor, the minister said the investment strengthened Nigeria's disease surveillance systems, laboratory networks, medical oxygen infrastructure, infection prevention and control systems, digital platforms, and community structures. Pate said health security is not separate from national security, economic resilience, or sustainable development. Countries that invest in resilient health systems are better positioned to protect lives, safeguard livelihoods, and sustain economic growth. The minister noted that the major lesson from the program was that emergency investments must create lasting systems rather than temporary solutions. Family businesses across Africa recorded stronger growth than their global counterparts despite economic uncertainty. According to the recently released PwC's 2025 Africa Family Business Survey, which drew responses from 79 family businesses across East, West, and Southern Africa, found that 66% of respondents achieved single-digit or double-digit sales growth over the past year, surpassing the global average of 57%. PwC said the performance reflected the resilience of family-owned businesses amid economic volatility, regulatory reforms, geopolitical tensions, and changing stakeholder expectations. The Africa Family Business Leader at PwC Nigeria, Eziri Abeyi, said African family businesses had established a solid platform for future expansion. According to the report, 53% of respondents expect to pursue steady growth over the next 2 years, while 27% plan faster expansion, reflecting a cautious approach that balances opportunities with long-term sustainability. The survey noted that economic priorities differed across regions. While West African businesses focused on fiscal stability, regional integration, and infrastructure development, Southern African firms grappled with energy constraints and efforts to diversify power sources. In East Africa, businesses continue to drive digital transformation, trade expansion, and innovation-led growth. PwC identified 5 factors driving the success of high-performing family businesses: purpose agility, long-term capital deployment, reputation management, and strategic tax planning. And that's it on business news. Stay tuned for News Track at 2 p.m. Good morning.